Greetings, fellow traders. Bubblehead here, and today we're going to look at supply and demand zones in less than 3 minutes. Okay, supply zones are areas where there is a lot of selling, and demand zones are areas where there is a lot of buying. So one thing I get asked a lot is, what is the difference between a supply zone and resistance, and a demand zone and support? And the answer is not much, except the zones are wider. They give you a general area where price could reverse based on prior selling and prior buying. First, let's take a look at some examples of support and resistance lines. Okay, here's a look at Apple, just a clean chart right here. And let's add some resistance and support lines. Okay, so first you can see this downward trend line right here, so that would potentially be a resistance line as price, if price moves up. You can also see that price found some support at this 170 level, so you can see this this support line right here, and you can see some other ones as well. Okay, now let's take a look at some examples of supply and demand zones. Okay, here's a look at the same chart of Apple. You can see up here before, right in this all-time high area, you can see there was a lot of congestion, right? So around this area, before it went down, right, there was a lot of activity, and clearly the sellers won. So this would be considered a supply zone. So it clearly went down. And interestingly enough, as Apple came back up, right, look what it did. It came into this general area, this supply zone, and it found supply again, and it pushed the chart back down. Conversely, we can see the demand zone down here. Now, clearly before Apple went up, right, there was a lot of buying going on. There was a little bit of selling, but a lot of buying. Eventually, the buyers won, right? It came back up, touched this demand zone again, and then came all the way back up. And look what happened after it bounced off of this supply zone. It came right into the demand zone, which is obviously very big, right? But eventually found its support, right? And then the buyers won, and then pushed it back up. So one thing with supply and demand zones is that we can incorporate volume profile, because after all, actual buying and selling should be represented by actual orders, volume. I've added volume profile to Apple here, and you can see there was a lot of volume up here where the selling happened. There was a lot of volume here where the buying happened. You can even see here where it's finding some support. This actually could be a demand zone as well because of all the volume. And you can see how it pushed up off of that level. There are different time frames that can show candles and their shadows differently and can help detect these zones better. For instance, here's the hourly chart of Apple. And if we zoom in at the prior low here of 169.50, we can see that there were some important candles here, here, and here that showed that this zone was made, right, where there was a strong buying that finally broke some resistance areas. I hope you found this helpful. Be sure to subscribe.